the Teams chat for that. If you're looking directly at me on your Teams screen, and if you're in the web-based version of Teams and you look right across the top, well, if you're in the desktop version of Teams and you look right across the top, desktop means you have it downloaded, you'll see a bar, a menu options bar, and you'll see something that looks like a chat bubble. That will open up the meeting chat on your right-hand side. If you're accessing Teams from the web, then you're going to look kind of down towards the bottom of your screen. So you'll hover your cursor over where you see the slideshow showing up. You'll hover your cursor there and you'll see a menu options bar show up and you'll see a chat icon. That will open the chat for you. Again, I'll show exactly how to find it and what everything looks like in a couple of seconds. And then the last friendly reminder, you all should have just got a purple pop-up alert going across the top of your screen, letting you know that this session is being recorded. This is great because this means that you will have access to this session even once it's ended. You can come back and watch this recording. That also does mean, going back to if your video was turned on or not, that you're taking into consideration if we do stop sharing my screen and you're on camera or you're asking a question and your camera is turned on, just that friendly reminder that your likeness will be part of that recording because this session is being recorded. So I always want to say that just to make sure that everybody is aware that their smiling or not so smiling faces may be on the recording. Right here is me. This is my semi-smiling face. I am Siobhan Smith, the Microsoft and Education Learning Consultant. It's a really long title. My paycheck does not get longer as my title gets longer, even though I think the two should definitely go together. But my role 100% is just to work with individuals to make Microsoft tools and technologies, Office 365, Teams, all of those things come to life for you on a day-to-day basis. I am not a techie by anybody stretching the imagination. I come from an education background. I am a multi-generational educator. So my mother was a teacher and a principal. My grandmother was a teacher. My great-grandmother, as much as she could during her time period, was in teaching. Aunts, uncles, pretty much everybody in my family has been in education in some way, which means that when I went to college, we all know what I majored in. Anything but education. I wasn't going to be a teacher too. I wanted six figures. So I got a master's in finance, was absolutely miserable in corporate America, and then decided to go into education. So I got certified, ended up teaching in a local K-12 school district, ended up being a principal, a superintendent, worked in higher ed for a while, and then I came around and now I work for Microsoft. Just really thinking about how these tools can make our lives easier. That is always the goal. We never want educational tools to make our lives harder. We always want them to make things easier. This one is going to show you, again, we talked about being able to find chat. I told you I was going to show you in a couple of seconds where you can find it. Looking on this screen, this is what your menu options bar should look like. Depending on if you're in the web-based version, it will be towards the bottom part of your screen. If you have downloaded Teams onto your computer, it's in the top part of your screen. And just to go over these really quickly, this is where your camera is if you want your video feed on or off. This is also where your mic is if you want to make sure that you stay on mute or come off mute. You would just use that microphone option. You're not going to be sharing your screen today. That's going to be my job. But as you go out and you may use Teams more in Teams meetings, there is the capability to share your screen, and that's going to be the box with the arrow pointing up through it. 3 dots give you additional controls within Microsoft Teams, and anywhere, absolutely anywhere in Office 365 that you see 3 dots, click on them. There's always great stuff behind them. If you want to see who all is in this meeting with you, you're able to click on the 2 people that are close but not touching because Microsoft keeps things appropriate, and that will show you the list of meeting participants that are in here with you. So you can say hi to your friends in the chat if you see them in this meeting. And lastly, being able to access the chat is going to be that chat icon. For some, it's going to be squared and look like a text message icon on your phone. For some, it may be a more circular bubble. It's kind of like the Android iOS thing. Whichever way it is on your screen, that is your chat icon. And that's how you get access to the chat in case you want to ask questions or give insight or just use the chat in general. So that is participating in this meeting. Now, someone else did take control of the screen. I am going to take it back for a little while so I can continue on through the session. There we go. Now, Microsoft Teams. What is Microsoft Teams? Why do you care about it? Why does it matter? Why are we even here today? First things first, I always like to level set, because whenever we start introducing teams or start talking about teams, one of the things that tends to happen is people get very defensive because they feel like someone is giving me something new that I have to learn. There is this new lift that I have to take on. I've just learned how to use this. I'm already using this. We have 3 other things that the university is always using. Why are you giving me something else? I always want to just kind of, again, level set with teams. It's not something new. Teams is taking the things that you already do on a day-to-day basis, the things that you already know how to use, and it's just bringing them into one central hub location. So take a deep breath and release and realize the Teams is not going to be something new. It's really just streamlining. But when we think about what Teams is, what's the purpose of Teams? Number one, we need to communicate. That's something we do all the time, be it virtual, be it remote, be it in person. Communication is key. That's something we're always going to be doing, and that's something that Teams allows us to do in one easy central spot. Office 365 applications, those things that you already use on a day-to-day basis, Word, PowerPoint, Excel, all of that is hubbed and housed in Teams. So again, not asking you to learn something new, thinking about what we do on a day-to-day basis and giving it one central place to live. We're going back in more communications internal and external to the university, and of course that Microsoft level security and compliance that's built in to all things Microsoft, and specifically all things Microsoft EDU, because we do realize that in education there is a high standard for making sure that everything is safe and secure. Collaboration, communication, if you choose, and we will kind of just touch on this just a little bit, but there is even a classroom component to Teams if you want to explore that later on down the line. Assignments, channels, files, and partner applications. So those third-party applications that integrate seamlessly within Teams. That is Microsoft Teams. So if anybody ever asks you what it is, collaboration is number one, communication, and then all of these other building blocks and bricks that go into making up a collaborative space. And here's my favorite part about Teams. Outside of all of the use case scenarios, if you have internet access, you have access to Teams. So whatever type of device you may be using, wherever you are, you have access to Teams. That means if you're on a PC, if you're on a Mac, you have Teams. If you're on a tablet, if you're on your cell phone, iOS or Android, you have Teams. If you're just wanting to use your browser, you have Teams, Edge, Chrome, Safari. You have access to Teams as long as you have internet access, which means it's on the go. It's where you are. My absolute favorite option for Teams is I keep it downloaded on my cell phone. If there's nothing else that you get out of today, I would say one of the first things, if you so choose to do with Teams, would be to download it onto your mobile devices. And we're going to talk about some of the reasons that this is really ideal, but just know it'll allow you to have that. And if everybody could just check their mics, I'm hearing a little bit of feedback. It allows you to have access to your communication, your collaboration, your files, all of these things within sometimes the most expensive computers that we own, honestly, are our cell phones. So you can download it on there, and we'll definitely take some time to show how you can do that as well. Now, getting into Microsoft Teams, I have 2 more slides. Then I'm going to jump out of slide deck and take us into demo, just so you can really see it hands-on and what it looks like in that Tulane environment. But Teams is primarily broken up into 2 spaces. You have a me space and you have a we space. So your left-hand rail in Microsoft Teams is going to be me space. These are the things that you can do in Microsoft Teams without being a part of an actual team. And then you have a we space, which is going to be everything to the right-hand side of your screen. And that's actually your collaborative workspace. So you have a me space and you have a we space provided to you in Microsoft Teams. So this left rail, this part we're saying is going to be your me space. This is where you can check your activity. This is where you can get to your chat. This is where you can get to your files. All of the things that belong to you personally. And then when we get to that right-hand side and we're in our we space, that's where you're collaborating, communicating, co-authoring, and working with your teammates. So those are your two spaces within Microsoft Teams, me and we. When we get into the demo, we're going to show some use case scenarios and really focus today a lot on that me space, because that's where you're going to declutter your life from. But there's another space that just kind of is all inclusive of everything Microsoft Teams. So left rail, me space, right-hand side, we space. And then the part that's accessible at all times for everybody is going to be your top. That's your me, we, everything all together. And in that top bar in Teams, this is where your command box lives, and this is where you can get to all of your options. So just know left, me, right, we, top is going to be command and settings. And I do hear someone is off mute, so if we could just check our mics really quickly and make sure that we're muted, that would be awesome. All right, there we go. So let's start off just thinking about our day. I'm going to stop sharing this screen, and then now's the time we're going to get into demo. I'm just going to share up my regular desktop so that you all can see all of the clutter and disorganization that I normally have going on within my Microsoft Teams space. But let's think about starting our day. And again, you all have access to chat. So I want you all to be using chat during this session. It would be really horrible for you all to have to listen to just my voice for the entire session. That will get on my nerves. That should probably get on yours. For those of you that are just joining, you can access chat. Right now, I'm in the desktop version of Teams. You can access chat right here across the top, and that will open up this meeting chat window. You can type in your questions there. If you're on the online version of Teams, if you just kind of hover your mouse over the screen, you'll see a bar that looks just like this show up. You can access chat there. And if you are joining from your cell phones or your mobile devices and you have Teams installed, you will see your chat bubble right across the top, and you can access chat as well. So make sure if you have questions or thoughts that you are using your chat features. Okay. So first question, answers can come into chat. What is the first thing that most of us tend to do to start our work days? If you just take a couple seconds, somebody wants to drop the answer in the chat, please feel free to do so. But that first thing, you come into work, how do you tend, or even before you get into work, how do you tend to start your work day? So checking your calendar, to-do list. Again, I keep Teams installed on my phone. So if you all see me looking at my phone, I'm not ignoring you at all. I'm really just looking at the answers that are coming in. It kind of gives me an extended or expanded workspace that I can share out my screen in the meeting, but still be able to see or read the answers that are coming in. So I see a lot of to-do lists, emails, work calendars, checking emails, doing your to-do list. I kind of start mine a little bit backwards. So this is me not being as professional as I should be. I tend to kind of check feeds. So it will be like checking my emails, checking to see what happened when I was last online or since I've last been online. In Microsoft Teams, far left rail, you have an activity feed right here, that first bell. That's how we can take what we do in the real world and bring it into Teams. Activity feed is like checking your email, except for it's checking everything that's happened within Microsoft Teams since the last time you were on. You can see if somebody mentioned you. You can see if someone responded or reacted to a post, because very social media like, we can do a little bit of thumbs up there. You can see if somebody messaged you directly. You can see anything that happened in Teams. And when you see something that happens, you can click on it and it takes you directly to the space in Teams where that did happen. So this is just an easy way to start your day, making sure that you're caught up on everything that's happened since the last time you logged into Teams. Again, a lot of the goal of Microsoft Teams is to declutter and streamline. I'm going to show you all something, and this is embarrassing, so try not to judge me. Right now, I have 2,965 unread emails in one of my email inboxes. This isn't even my personal one. This is one of my work emails. 2,965 unread emails. A lot of that is because one of the pros for working in education, K-12, higher ed, just working anywhere in the field, is we get a lot of discounts with educator email addresses. So, you sign up for this newsletter, you get your Barnes and Noble specialty card because you're an educator, and you get your discounts. You may have some personal emails coming in there. You have people that are working with you from outside the university emailing you in your inbox. You have internal communications coming in. Everything is coming into this one space. First thing to think about with decluttering is how can I really easily separate internal communications from external communications and clutter and fluff. One of those ways is by using Teams primarily for your internal communications. So when I check this activity feed in the morning, all of this is related purely to work. We're uncluttering our email inboxes. We're bringing the most important things that we know we need to see over into Teams. So that's unclutter or declutter, step one. Next thing is, how do we communicate with our coworkers on a day-to-day basis? What is it that we're doing that we're talking to them? And this is where I say having the app installed on your phone is amazing. Let's declutter your text messages. A lot of us use group chats or our personal cell phone text messages in order to communicate with coworkers. Nobody's saying anything is wrong with that. But there may be a time where in a university setting, you need to communicate with students, you need to communicate with faculty, staff, coworkers, and you may not want them to have access to your personal cell phone numbers, but you keep your phone on you. If you have the Teams app installed on your phone, you're able to chat and communicate with your coworkers, with your students, with other faculty and staff through Teams. So right here, second icon, Me Space, gives you access to chat within Teams. So this chat that lives here can be one-to-one or one-to-few chats. So this is your text messaging. This is, I need to talk to my friend who works in another department really quickly and ask them about something that's going on next week. Or I need to do a one-on-one check-in with a student, but I don't want to text message them and they're not really good at checking their emails. So how can I do this easily? I can use chat. In chat, this is also where any of your meeting chats live. So today's Teams meeting right here, Teams at Tulane, I can always go back here and reference this chat. If any resources are dropped here, the meeting recording will live here. Anybody that may ask a question or give a great suggestion, I can always go back and look at it simply by accessing this chat. Again, we're decluttering, so we're clearing out activity feed, we're clearing out our emails. Chat, we're clearing out our personal cell phone text messages, and we're also decluttering our emails because a lot of those things that we send as emails back and forth can now be done extremely quickly within Teams as a Teams chat. On that chat icon, I want to start a new chat. I would simply type in the individual's name, and as long as they're a part of the university, it's automatically going to pop up. If they're external to the university, so let's say this is someone that has even a Gmail email address, I can add them in. Somebody has an AOL email address, I can add them in. So this is internal and external in a chat-based environment that you can access within Microsoft Teams. So I'm able to type in everybody that I want to work with, everybody I want to have this conversation with, come down here, and now we can start our chat-based conversation. Again, we're clearing out our text messages because now we're moving work-related messaging into a work-related platform. So we're having our text-based chat. Shay just got a notification, and the two individuals that are not within my organization just got an email notification as well. Now, outside of just being able to text-based chat, ask questions, have conversations, we're able to bring in files, collaborative documents into this chat space. We can choose to bring things from our OneDrive. Each of you with Tulane has a OneDrive with 1 terabyte of storage, so everybody has OneDrive. Or you can upload a document from your computer. And it goes just like uploading any other document. You can upload Words, PDFs, Excels, PowerPoints, whatever type of document it is that you have on your device, you can bring in to this space. And I'm going to bring in just a really simple Word document. I think this one's pretty quick. So I can bring in this Word document. Bringing it into this space, you'll see I got a nice little pop-up that says anyone with the link. I can control how this document works within this chat space within Teams. If I want everybody here to be able to work on it in real time together and collaborate, I make sure that I allow editing. If I don't, if I really just want it to be view only, I'm giving them some information that they can see, but I don't want them to make changes, I can turn off editing. I can say only people within my organization with the link can edit, because remember, I have 2 people that aren't within Tulane. I may want them to see it but not edit it. I can change it so only people in my organization with the link have access. I can even set an expiration date. So if I want to shut this down and I know I'll forget to unshare it, after next Friday, I don't want them to be able to do anything else with it. So I'm gonna put an expiration date on when this document is available to them. If I want to protect it more, remember security. We understand the importance of security within an EDU space. I can add a password to it. And if it's something that I may be sharing with a student or a faculty member, and I want them to see it, but I don't want them to be able to download it because I don't want them to have a hard copy that may make it out into other hands, I can block download on a document as well. But I want everybody to be able to edit this document because this is collaborative. And now I'm just going to apply it. So we've decluttered our text messages a little bit by using chat. We talked about decluttering our email inboxes. This is taking that to another level. So think about right now. We're 2 steps off of the original. Think about how we used to work collaboratively on documents. I would send you an email and I would attach a document. You would make changes to that document. You would save it as document name v.1. You would send it back to me. I would make changes, document name v.1.2. I would send it back to you. You would make changes, send it back to me, v.1.1.2. It was almost like iOS giving up operating system updates with all the numbers that were floating around. We had 37 emails going back and forth working on one document. That cluttered our inbox. And then we transitioned over into kind of cloud drive storage. And now we could go to our drives and we could share out documents with individuals that we wanted to have access, and we could collaborate in real time. But that was another step of having to go and set sharing permissions for different people. Now we're bringing it into a chat-based space that, again, you have access to mobile device, cell phones, tablets, your laptops, your desktops, Androids, iOS, MacBooks, PCs, whatever it is, you're getting the same experience. So now you're able to collaborate with individuals in real time on documents. So we can go ahead and share this. And now everybody in this chat has access to this. And you can have up to 10 files just in this chat space that you all are working on collaboratively at any given time. We can also have a little bit of fun in this space. You know, you get your emojis, you get your GIFs, because sometimes a GIF can say a little bit more than what we can. We never want context to be lost when we're using, you know, remote or virtual or technical ways to communicate with individuals. There's nothing like seeing somebody's smiling face. But if we can't do that because we're sending a message, sometimes a nice little GIF will do. You can even put in stickers. It is almost Friday. So here's another peek. Taco, everybody gets this on Tuesdays. No matter what message I'm sending, they get the taco on Tuesday without fail. I'm corny. I realize that. I own it. And the people that work with me have realized it too. You always get a taco sticker on Tuesdays, and then tomorrow they get this and it says Friday. So that's just me. We need to have a little bit of fun. Everything's not meant to just be so boring and basic, but you can have fun with these messages. Now, what we realize is after we've done some collaboration, working on documents, we need to communicate. So I've text messaged you or via chat without my personal cell phone number being shared for a while. But there's nothing like that face-to-face interaction. We can start a Teams meeting, a video call, so we can all see each other face-to-face directly from this chat space just by clicking on this little camera that's up in that right-hand corner. So we got our collaboration. Now we're bringing in our communication into our decluttering. We're bringing everything into one simple hubbed space. Other things that you can do in this chat space, and we can go deeper into this in other sessions, but just so you know what's there, you can always add people. So right now we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in this chat. We have 4. We have 4 people in this chat-based space. Let's say someone new is going to be working on this project with us. I can go ahead and add people. And I want to bring in Renetta because she's going to be working on this with us. When I add Renetta, I can choose if she has access to the entire chat history. I can say, you know what? We've been working on this project for 3 days. So I only want to give her the last 3 days of chat history. Because, when she first started working here about 2 months ago, we might have been asking some questions about her in the chat because this was our private chat and she wasn't really doing that great at her job yet. And we don't want her to see that we said that. But we also don't want to have to catch her up on everything that we've been doing. So the last 3 days, she can see that much of the chat history. Or we can say, you know what? She doesn't need to know anything that's taken place before now. We're just going to bring her in right here and we'll play catch up with her by letting her know what's been going on. And we don't have to include the chat history at all. And you can go ahead and add Renetta. And now that we've added Renetta, Shay has decided he doesn't want to be part of the group anymore. You can remove individuals from the chat. They'll be able to see the history before they were removed, but they won't be able to see anything else that goes on in the chat after they've been removed. So this is just staying, we're still in me space. You're not even a part of a team, but we're talking about is showing all of the different things that you can do to kind of streamline your communication and collaboration, declutter your cell phone text messages, declutter your inbox, just by staying within the Microsoft Teams platform. And then we have calendar. We showed in chat how you can start a meeting really quickly with the people that you're in a chat with, but then there are going to be times where you just need to schedule a meeting. You need to schedule a Teams meeting. You need that video call or video conference. That calendar icon within Microsoft Teams allows you to come in and just schedule a new meeting. So when you go into new meeting, you can choose to title your meeting. This one is going to be Office Hours Week 2. If you want to add people, get them an email invite sent to them, you can just type in their email addresses. So these would be, I don't want to invite Shay or Renetta because we have a chat already. I'll invite Andre to this one, and I'll invite Emily to this. So I can start just typing in the names of the individuals that I want to invite. This will send them an email invite, and this will show up on their calendar. I can go ahead and put in my start date and time, my end date and time. If this is going to be a recurring meeting, I can add whether or not it will be a recurring session. And I can add a location. If we're back in brick and mortar and you know that even though we're doing this as a Teams meeting, we may need to be in a conference hall or in a certain building, we can add a location if need be. And we can even add details for the meeting. So agendas, explanations for what's going to be going on. We can add all of that right here. We also have the option to ask about response options. Do you want these individuals to be able to RSVP for the meeting? If I want them to RSVP, I'll turn on request responses. That means they'll be required to say yes or no. And if it's a meeting that I really only want those two to come to, nobody else, I can turn off meeting forwarding, or I can allow forwarding in case it's a meeting that they might want to invite some other people to. Once I get all of that set, I'll go ahead and click send, and it adds this directly to my Teams calendar. Your Teams calendar talks to your Outlook calendar talks to your Teams calendar. So any meetings that you schedule here on this Teams calendar will show up on your personal Outlook calendar or your work Outlook calendar. And any Teams meetings that you schedule from your Outlook calendar will show up here. And then let's say I invited those two individuals, but I need this to be a broader meeting. And I don't want to type in every email address or every name for every person that I want to invite. I can always find that meeting on my calendar, double click to get back into that meeting. And now down at the bottom, I have a meeting link and I have meeting information. I can share out this link. The individuals can just click on to join it. I can give them this dial-in number so they can call in that way. I can just copy and paste this whole thing and share it out like you do with other meeting platforms. So there are multiple ways that you can add people into a meeting. And let's say it's going to be somebody that's not a part of Tulane, because we know that sometimes we need to meet with individuals that are part of other organizations or family members, friends, students, a multitude of other people. If I share this link out, anybody with that link will be able to join the meeting, even if they don't have Teams. So don't ever think that a Teams meeting is locked into people having Teams. This link will work for anyone. They'll be able to join via their web browser. They don't have to download or install anything. So even if they don't have Teams, as long as they have an email address that you can send that link to, they're good. Or if they don't have an email address, if you just post this link somewhere, they click on it, it'll bring them into the meeting via the browser. And if it's somebody that's external, I can go ahead and I can just type in full email addresses for individuals that are outside of my organization or individuals that don't have Teams, and I can invite them into a Teams meeting as well. So now we're streamlining our calendars, we're streamlining our email processes, we're decluttering, having to use other apps and then share and then bring things in. So Teams, again, these are things we do on a day-to-day basis. We communicate, we chat, we share files, we set up meetings. We're simply bringing it all into this one hub space. So that's our calendar. Next up on this me space is files. And this is a big one about how do we use our files? How do we share our files? How are we collaborating? Let's say if we don't want to chat, how are we collaborating with files within our organization? Microsoft Teams has files built in. When you go into files within Teams, you'll see that I can see my recent files. These are any files that I've used anywhere in the Microsoft Teams space. I can go into Microsoft Teams, and that's going to be any files that I have access to, not even recently, just any Teams that I'm a part of, any of the files that are in those Teams you have access to. And then we have cloud storage. OneDrive, all of you, again, have a OneDrive that has 1 terabyte of storage each. So you each have OneDrive. And then there's the ability to add additional cloud storage systems. In Tulane, we know you all have used Box a lot, so you can bring Box into this cloud storage space, which means, because we're still in the me space, this is still not sharing it out with other people within your organization, with other people within your department. This is where you can see your files that you have using these other cloud storage systems. But we'll show OneDrive today because that's the one that ties in the most seamlessly with Teams. When you open OneDrive within your team space, so we're still keeping everything in a central hub, not having to go anywhere else, you'll see that this looks identical to your regular OneDrive. Your folders are going to be the same order. Your files are going to be the same order. If they're organized in any way better than mine, that organization will carry over when you access your OneDrive within the Teams space. From here, outside of just accessing files that you already have, you can go in and you can create new files, new folders if you want to organize things, new Word documents, Excel spreadsheets, PowerPoints, OneNotes, forms. You can upload things that you have on your computer already, individual files or entire folders, bring them into the Teams space. And you can even open this up in that OneDrive. So if it says open in OneDrive, it will open up OneDrive in your browser. Now, these files that you have here, because again, this is your OneDrive, you may need to collaborate or share them out, and you don't want to chat with the people and you're not a part of a team, you can find any file that you have here. So I'll go ahead with this meeting attendance link from a session that I did back in February. Click on the 3 dots. Again, whenever you see 3 dots in Microsoft, click on them. There's always great stuff behind them. I can choose to open it. I can edit this directly in Teams. I can open it in the desktop application if I'm on my PC or on my Mac or whatever device I'm using. I can open it in the desktop application. I can choose to open it in the browser. So you have options for where it opens. If I want to get this document out to some individuals that may or may not be a part of my organization, I can get a copy link directly from within Teams, and I still have those same permissions for how I want to share this link out. So we're going to go back to it, and we're going to get this copy link, and I can say that I want people to be able to view. I can say I want them to be able to edit, only people in my organization, people with existing access, only specific people. I can still block that download. I can still set a password. I can still set an expiration date. So I have all of these capabilities still staying within Microsoft Teams, being able to just copy that link and then share it out with individuals. So you have access to your files from within this space. I can download it just in case I need a hard copy on my device, delete it, rename it. Again, open it in OneDrive. That allows me to see version histories when I take it into the actual OneDrive. I can move this, which means if I'm clearing this up, I can move it into a folder. I can organize it. I can move it from my OneDrive into my box, Dropbox. I can move it into my Google Drive. So all of these things work really well together for file management, just staying, again, within Microsoft Teams. Or I can copy it into a folder while keeping my original directly here just in my OneDrive. So when we get into file management, again, decluttering, being able to organize, being able to bring all those files that we have just randomly saved on our desktop of our computer because we think that's the easiest place for us to find them, we can declutter that and just bring them into the cloud storage space within Teams. And that means as long as you have access to Teams, you have access to all of your files as well, keeping everything again in that one-stop shop. So I do want to take a second here. I see we're right at that 1043, almost 1045 time period. I want to see if there are any questions that have been dropped in the chat or give you all time to come off mute and ask any questions that you have. I do see that Carrie has gone ahead and she's dropped some resources in to the chat for you. So you all do have the guest access comparison chart. And we were talking about being able to bring in individuals that may not be a part of Tulane. This will go in and it will show you how you're able to bring individuals into meetings and into the team space that may not be a part of Tulane. So just to show it on the screen really quickly, since we're already sharing, this is what the capabilities of guests are in the team space. So whenever you open up this document, it will just show you what guests are able to do within Teams. But I do want to see if there's any questions before I show you really quickly what a team is. Remember, we just talked about me space. Now we're going to show you the actual team in Microsoft Teams. But any questions so far? If you do, please either raise your hand, come off of mute, or drop it in the chat. If I don't see any, we'll keep going forward. How can we access this recording? So there's a couple of ways that you'll be able to access this recording. Carrie did just drop a link into the chat where the resource hub will be for all of the other things that deal with Teams within Tulane. One of the ways that you can access this recording is you can always, within Teams, because this is a Teams meeting, you can come back to the chat icon in Teams. You'll be able to find the name of today's session, which is Teams at Tulane Declutter. And after this session is over, the recording for this session will live right here in this chat. So you can come back to this chat and you'll be able to get access to the recording. And I do know that Carrie, after everything is done, she does take the recordings and she normally sends them out to the individuals who were in attendance. So you will definitely be able to have access to this recording today. And for Denise, as far as adding emails, as it stands right now, you are not able to add like Outlook per se into Teams. When we say how this declutters emails in the me space, so primarily in your me space within Teams, it is encouraging and kind of changing your workflow of if I needed to email Carrie a question or talk to her about something, instead of sending her an email, I would chat her within the team space. I'd be able to attach the documents and we'd be able to have this immediate communication. So that's how our me space can declutter in Microsoft Teams. Now, once we get into an actual team, you are able to get email addresses for your team, and I will make sure to show that. And I'm still checking chat. I don't see any other questions. Let me make sure before I misspeak. I don't see any other questions right now. So I do want to go ahead really quickly, and I want to show a team. Okay. When we think of teams, we're thinking now about how do we work together on a day-to-day basis? Like, what are those things that we do day to day within our regular workflow? And how can we bring them together into an actual Teams space? And that is using a team. There are 4 types of teams, and I'll make sure that you all have access to this whole presentation after today. So I'll make sure I drop this slide deck in the chat as well, just in case you ever want to reference back to that. But there's 4 types of teams that you have access to within Microsoft Teams. And I want to show the slide that really breaks it down. Those 4 types of teams that you have access to are your class team, a PLC team, a staff team, and an other team. And this kind of gives a breakdown of why you would use each one. We're primarily going to focus on PLC, staff, and other teams, but know that class teams is an option for you. Class teams, you get a class notebook. PLC team, you get a PLC notebook. Staff team, you get a staff notebook. And when I keep saying this word notebook, if any of you all have ever used OneNote, and my first introduction to OneNote was when I got an Android phone, and that was the Notes app that came with it. So you should see OneNote probably popping up a lot more, especially on Android phones right now. So whenever we talk about notebooks, the teams that you create in Microsoft come with OneNote notebooks already built in. And each of these has a different way that there's a template and that they're built out. But those are your 4 types of teams. As a faculty or staff member in Tulane, you can create any of these teams. If you do work with students and they have a request or they're interested in teams, they will have to put in a request. And Carrie, if you can drop that link, they will have to put in a request to have a team created for them. Students are not able to create their own teams, but as faculty and staff, you all are able to create your own teams. And the process is really quick. It's kind of a 3-step process. When you're in your Microsoft Teams screen, web-based, online, desktop, whatever you're using, device, you would click on the Teams icon from your left rail. And right now I'm in grid view. In grid view, I see the option to join or create a team in this upper right-hand corner. If I was in list view, I would see the option to join or create a team in my bottom left corner. But when you go to join or create a team, you'll see there's an option to create, and it lets you choose from one of the 4 team types. For me, honestly, when we're working within a department, other or PLC are your 2 primary teams you're going to create. Staff team is ideal when you have a hierarchy, and then of course class team would be if you want to work with your class. So class, staff, other, or PLC. Just for today, we'll create an other team just to show what the process is. You would name your team. Because your university is extremely large, be considerate when you're thinking of what your team name is going to be. If I teach quantitative methods, I'm probably not going to name my team Quantitative Methods Study Group, because there are other professors that teach that. There are other classes for that. How will students or anybody identify that that is my team for the purpose that I want it to be? So really be considerate when thinking of the name as something that's easily identifiable and specific to your need. If we're working in the department and we are going to do our School of Business and Industry, we might just name that because there's probably only one. But if we're going to, within our school or within our college name, break it down that IT has their own team, we will want to put in something that kind of identifies what the purpose of the team is. We can put in a descriptor, and then you have the choice of if your team is going to be private or public. Best, just here's a tip, word of advice. a best use case is set your team as private. This means that only you or only the person that creates the team is able to add members. If a team is made public, that means anyone that's a part of Tulane University would be able to search for, find, and easily access and join your team. And there are going to be times that there's information in there you may not want being accessible to the general public. So best case is to set your team as private, and then you can add members as you need. And there's a couple of ways that we can add members. We can start by typing in the names of the people that we want in our group. Now, if you're thinking about doing a class team or you're thinking about doing a full departmental team, this may have turned you off from teams in the beginning because you're thinking there is no way I want to sit there and actually type in the name of every person within my team or within my class. You do not have to do that. So this is one way. You can type them in. You can choose if they're going to be members or owners and change all their permissions and close it. That's one way. But again, most of us don't have time to sit there and enter in people one by one. So here are some tips and tricks for adding people or getting individuals into your teams. And this works for class teams, this works for staff teams, this works for other teams. Once your team is created, find the name of your team and see those three dots. Whenever you see three dots in Microsoft, click on them. There's always great stuff behind them. Click on those three dots for more options. And you'll see the first thing is when you scroll down, you can get a link to a team. So you can say get link to team and you can copy this link. Now, I'm going to say this like I always say. Microsoft has some of the longest links known to mankind. So for me, I would probably put that link into a link shortener just because it is so long. But I can share this link out via email. I can post this link somewhere. I can put it in a blog. I can share that link out however I need to. And individuals will be able to click on that link and that will add them to my team. So that's one way that you don't have to type in people one by one, add them on a name by name basis. So you can get a link, share out that link, and anybody who clicks on that link will be able to join your team. The other way to add people to a team without having to type out their names one by one is you can click on those three dots again, always good stuff behind them, and you're going to go to Manage Team. And when you go to Manage a Team, right up across the top, you'll see some tabs that say Members, Apps, and then More. You want to go into Settings. And when you go into Settings and you scroll down, you'll see there's an option for a team code. So you can generate a team code and it lets you know this will work for anybody in your organization. If this is going to be a guest or someone external to Tulane, the code won't work. You can share them a link or you can type their name in. But as long as it's somebody within Tulane, so this is great for students, you can go to team code, you can go to generate, and now this code will show up. If you're in a Teams meeting or a Zoom meeting or any other type of teleconferencing meeting, you can just show that code on the screen. They can copy it, they can write it down, they can screenshot it, and they would just take that code when they log into Microsoft Teams and they see that option to join or create a team. They'll see the ability to join a team with a code, and they would just copy and paste or type that code in that you just created, and that will add them to your team. So again, we never expect someone to have to sit there and type in name after name after name of every student or individual that they want to add into a team. The easier way to do that would be via a code or via a link. So those are your two ways to get people into a team outside of typing them in. Now, I do see a question in the chat, and I want to address this question. And then with the last 5 minutes, we'll make sure it's open for any other questions that anyone may have. But the question is there a way to clear chat history? So I'll come back into chat. As far as clearing it, one of the strengths of Teams is that we always have access to information. So you can do a search, this top bar in Teams, you can search and it will search through all of your chat if you're looking for something. So we don't always say we clear it, but let's just say I'm no longer using this chat right here, the one with Renetta and Smitty's, and it's taking up too much space on my chat list. I can hover over that chat, click on the three dots. Whenever you see them, there's great stuff behind them. I can choose to leave the chat, which will make it disappear, or I can hide the chat. I tend to hide my chats more than I leave them, simply because I don't want them showing up here, but I still may need to access something in that chat. So I can choose to hide it and it goes away. If I'm the person in a chat, and let's say I just want to delete a message that I typed, because that does happen sometime, no one else can delete my post within the chat, but I can go in. If it's turned on by the university, this is a university setting, if they want to allow members to be able to delete their messages. So right here is a message that I posted this morning. I am a guest of you all today. So guests are not allowed to delete their messages. Really good in case you ever just need to catch something that somebody says. But if you had typed something in, you would be able to go in and clear out your message and delete your message. And hopefully that answered your question, but I definitely want to reiterate what Carrie dropped in the chat for any of you all who may not be checking it right now. And this is this reminder. Teams is not, N-O-T, capital bold, not to replace Canvas courses at all. It's that supplemental piece that faculty and staff can use to better communicate and collaborate with their students, TAs, departments, committees, and orgs. So when I'm thinking or when I'm talking about a class team, think about Canvas. Canvas allows students to submit their work. Everything there is graded, it's paced, you have grade right back, everything goes smoothly. But a lot of what we have our students do now may be collaborative work. It may be a group project. It may be something that they need a space to work on it together. That's when teams can come in a classroom setting. It's just providing a collaborative workspace between you and your students or your students and themselves. And of course, that day-to-day work experience with TAs, your departments, your committees, your organizations, etc. So that is what Teams is to serve as. Definitely not to replace Canvas. And it's also a great tool for administration, staff to use to communicate, collaborate within their departments on their projects, with your student employees or your vendors. So there's a lot of ways. Be creative. Great thing about Teams, because it's web-based, you cannot break it. I've tried. I promise you I've tried. The engineering team will probably be mad at me for saying that, but you cannot break it. So please think of Teams, communication, collaboration. It's that front end space where you get a lot of the work done. But if you're thinking about it for classroom purpose, the actual work goes into Canvas and is not meant to replace. So with that, I am checking chat, so I could actually see if anybody has any questions here. But just in case you do want to turn your cameras on or come off mute, I'm going to stop sharing my screen so you're not kind of looking at yourself, looking at me, looking at you, looking at me. And are there any questions? We have about 60 seconds left, and I always want to be respectful of time and make sure I don't hold you any longer than I'm supposed to. And it's a quiet group, so I'm just going to say that means everybody's coffee has not kicked in yet this morning. Carrie, any thoughts or anything you want to share from you that I may have missed or not covered? And it's still quiet. I promise you, Carrie is my new favorite person. Whenever there's a Dumbledore reference, I am excited. Dog barking? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So if everyone is good, we are at that 11 o'clock time. I will say thank you all so much for spending some time with us this morning. A reminder, we do have these throughout the day. So if you want to come back, feel free. If you have somebody who couldn't make it, go ahead, Carrie.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna let you know that if you want to find out where more trainings are coming, when they're coming, be sure to follow our newsletter. We send that out monthly. So we do have our April newsletter coming out by tomorrow. So that will have the additional dates. So faculty, staff, teams trainings will be dedicated to Thursdays. There will be one specific date, April 6th next week, that we have to push to Tuesday, but all of our faculty and staff trainings will be on Thursday, and all of our student trainings will be available on Tuesdays. So if you do have any students, if you have student employees, be sure to share that information with them and let them know that we are providing training to them as well. And that's it. Thank you all.
Thank you all again. Enjoy your day. And don't forget, you can always come back to this chat later on today. It normally takes maybe 30 minutes, and you'll have access to the video recording for today's session.